You're listening to the AfterBuzz TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, team. Johnson.
From the AfterBuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AfterBuzz TV's Castle After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AfterBuzz TV's Castle After Show.
Hello, hello, hello. Bing is for doing, and we are doing another episode here on AfterBuzz TV for Castle After Show Recap. Season 5, Episode 15, entitled Target. I am your host, Bamm Ericsen, and please, it is my pleasure to introduce these lovely ladies.
I'm Samara Bay.
Yes, hi, and I am Paige Sullivan.
And we're lacking Larisse tonight.
Yes, but I'm wearing a nice tight muscle shirt in my arms, you know, trying to represent for Larisse. But as you can see, I quite don't have the gun power.
You're close, you're close.
Okay, well, thank you.
On your body
I appreciate
type,
that.
it's perfect.
Thank you, I appreciate that. So Larisse is not here, but he'll be back. He'll be back next week. So let's dive into.
Oh my God.
Okay, so Samara, you predicted that it would have Alexis kidnapping would have something to do with Alexis and the blogging and the video, and maybe there was a crazy stalker, and you were in the ballpark.
I know. This is one of those times that I sort of wish I wasn't right. But yeah, so I mean, I maybe that blog did end up getting giving the bad guys the tip off, but.
Yeah, but
it wasn't the point.
Yeah, like we were thinking more along the lines that the blog led somebody to Alexis, but really it led them to somebody else.
Yeah.
Alexis kind of just got in the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
And it was so sad because we always hear Alexis talk about her friends and things like that, but this was actually the first friend that we've seen her interact with.
Certainly since college.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
for
true.
sure.
It's true. I know.
What did you guys think?
And also, we don't know. I mean, what you just said about Alexis just getting in the way, that's definitely the impression that we have. But considering that we have a whole other episode to get through, it could get more complicated than
Yes,
that.
this is true.
So what did you guys think about the episode before we dive into the topics? What did you guys think really quick? Just your overall opinion.
Oh, it was intense. I mean, this was one of the more emotional ones. There's always emotional episodes where I'm kind of like, I feel for this person, or even when Kate got shot, you feel for her, but you don't, you know. This one I literally almost got brought to tears by Castle's face, the way he was just looking. It was just, my eye, yeah, you know, you feel the water, and I was like, I can't cry right now. It's Monday. I have to make it through the week. But it was sad, and the emotion in this, I think, everybody can understand a parent's, you know, feelings when they think they may have lost or could possibly lose their child, especially their only child.
I think that they indulged like 5 seconds too much of that with going back and forth between once we get actually introduced to Alexis and the Sarah character in the cell, and then go back to Castle just getting like endlessly, you know, consoled by Beckett. It was lovely, but it just went, we were going from fast, fast, fast back to slow, and it was just him like looking sad. And I got it. I
get
I was
that.
like,
I get that. My only thing on that is, yeah, that is probably how it feels. They're trying to show like how it feels for Castle because everything's moving so slow for him. It probably feels like time is standing still, and for Alexis, it's, you know.
I know. It just felt like it kind of like got my like schmaltzy-o-meter going a little tiny bit.
That for me was when they kept the whole episode was, you know, like, oh, I feel for these parents. Their daughter's been kidnapped. I don't know what would happen with Alexis. Oh, I'm letting Alexis off. It was just kind of too you know,
Yes, on the nose. The setup of, I mean, this leads us into, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on the episode as well, but this leads us into, I know, our first topic, which is there was like such an underlined setup of, we must let Alexis be free. Nothing bad will happen to her. It's been my fault. I was too overprotective as a dad. And you're right. It was very like, wah, wah.
It was just like cheese factor.
Well, I'm so glad you guys said that first because I don't want to be the negative one.
Okay.
But the actual story, like the actual storyline of the abduction was not great.
Yeah, it just felt forced. It was like it wasn't smooth. It didn't have me scared. It was like how soon until we found out Alexis was missing?
Because normally, right? Because Paige, normally when they do two-part episodes, I mean it's deep, it's heavy. But this one, it was great acting, and it was great to see a different side of Castle, and Alexis was more involved, but. There was, like I said, the story, to me, it lacked a couple things.
This is what I mean, I think. This is what bothered me about the moment I'm referring to when it's just like this long, you know, slow beat with Beckett and Castle hanging out while he's waiting. I feel like they never... The show never indulges in that kind of like long, no new information type of scenes because normally we have like 20 new twists and turns, and this time they didn't actually focus on the bad guys and what's going on and the following and I mean a little bit obviously, but so much more of it was let's stop and like expand on what's emotionally happening to Castle right now instead of it being. I mean, there probably is a lot of like depth that we'll find out about in the next episode having to do with what this guy's relationship is in Egypt and all, you know, all this sort of Middle Eastern confusion. But for now, we didn't get that. For now, we got.
Well, let's just, so now that we spoke just a little bit in regards to Castle and the theme, you know, like we said, Castle and his mom, they were in the kitchen, and, you know, the mom was making the pancakes.
Terrible pancakes.
Were very, very terrible pancakes, which was Alexis' favorite. And so they went into the whole thing about, you know, how the grandmother, she really misses Alexis, and then Castle's more like, oh, you know, we miss her, but, you know, we've got to, you know, let her fly and spread her wings. And so would you guys have anything more to say about that before we go forward?
I just thought it was cheesy. I mean, the whole Castle saying, oh, it's the circle of life. She's moving on. Like, first off, there is no circle of life because you still live with your mother. So,
or your mother lives with you.
Or your mother lives with you, however that may be. But
But he gets a pass because it's not, this is in New York, it's in Manhattan. I mean, it's a huge house.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll give him a pass. If it was like,
a two-bedroom apartment.
No. If Castle wasn't successful and he was just living at his mother's house, that's one thing. But this is Castle's house, and he's taking care of his mom in some way, so he gets a pass. If it was different in the sense where he was relying on his mother like a deadbeat, that's one thing. So I'll give him.
I hear you there. I'm just saying.
Although
I thought it
for
was
everybody
funny.
out there living with your mother,
It's okay. It's okay.
Good luck. Good luck moving out.
You'll find a job.
You'll be fine.
You will.
But yeah, I mean, the setup was very obvious, and I thought that it was handled a lot better, and with the more the sort of Castle sense of humor that we've all come to know and love in the quick little scene with him and Kate walking to the crime scene, where she's making fun of the fact that he says he's accepted that she's, you know, has a life of her own, and Beckett's like, or you're in denial about anything that's actually going on. And that was a nice actual lead-in because it's true. He didn't know what was actually going on.
Really quickly, at the crime scene investigation, I did notice that Laney and Parrish were standing very close to each other.
Laney and Esposito, yes.
Right? I was going to say Laney Parrish.
Laney Parrish is her full character's name. So Laney and Esposito, but yeah, that's really good. Thank you for correcting me on that. But they were standing really next to each other. So
yeah,
I thought
true. We don't know anything that happened after last.
Yeah.
We don't get any of the
no, and
debrief.
all the things we thought. You know, we said, oh, Gates is going to go back to Hayden Castle, and this is going to happen in Esposito and Laney. Well, that's all on hold right now. You know, everything that we were kind of high on love last week and on these relationships, and now it's just stopped. You know, this is all about Alexis in this case and Castle. Really. It's you don't even really care about what Kate has to say. You just really want to know.
In fact, I thought there was some missing moments. I don't know if you guys felt it when I kind of would have liked her to say "I love you" to him or something nice. There was a few moments when he walked away where I don't think that it was that they were in the precinct and Gates was there. I just think it was like awkwardness between them, and he clearly like wanted. Anyway,
Maybe,
this was just me.
Maybe it's like one of those things. It's right now he knows you love him, he knows you care, but for you to say it, so maybe it's almost like a selfish thing. Like I want him to say I love you back when right now his only thought is about his. I don't know why they wouldn't say it, but they don't really say it in general.
That's just not who they are.
Yeah.
And I always use movie references, but remember in Ghost, Patrick Dempsey's character never said "I love you." He always said "ditto." But some people's relationship, they're not "I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you." That's just really
no, and
not
that's
the
not what
nature-
I'm referring to either. I mean,
But this is just an intense
there was this
moment.
moment where he just looked like such a sad child, and she was like, "Go home."
But
Yeah.
And I was like, "Wait, maybe."
But there were
I care about you.
But Smart, there were other moments when they were in the precinct and she's holding his hand. Gates is looking. There was times when Beckett hugged. Like the reason that she told him to go home was because he needed to separate himself from the investigation and just be a dad and worry. So that's how I took that. But
You're
for me,
right.
But for me,
I'm wrong.
No, I'm not. No,
No, but you're right that they did
here-
a lot of really lovely moments where she was very loving to him in the
She was,
precinct.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. But also, here at AfterBuzz, that's what we're all about. It's all about different views and different perspectives here at AfterBuzz TV.
No, I'm serious. You convinced me.
So no,
But
I'm not,
do think this is all I'm saying. I bet that in the writer's room they thought, do we need something more in this moment? And they decided to underwrite it instead of overwrite it. And there was this one little bit of the sentimental part of me that was like, I kind of wish they'd gone there. But that's okay.
I kind of wish that people would go to iTunes and write in comments. What do you think?
Hallelujah, Bamm. Yes, I agree. Check us out on iTunes. We read your comments. We were actually going over them before the show, Samara and I. So make sure you go to iTunes, download the podcast app. It will organize all of your podcasts, whether they're from AfterBuzz or not AfterBuzz. Hopefully there's a few from AfterBuzz. We've got some good shows going on here. So you can rate, give us 5 stars if you like us, which we hope you do, and comment. Tell us what you're thinking. You're always giving us helpful hints or something we may have forgot. You're letting us know. So it's really helpful if you guys do that for us and for yourself, because hopefully you enjoy listening to our podcast.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll mention you on the air.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're helping us out, it's the least we could do.
Let's get into now, before we get into, obviously, the abduction, there was another key factor, and her name was Sarah and her family. So let's go into Sarah and the family.
Well, first off, we find Sarah because Hasim Farouk, he was the one who was first killed. He's the murdered, I guess. He's the victim. And so he's run over by a van that he was shooting at. So we look into him and his past, and he's got an extensive gun collection. He seems to be into martial arts. He's got surveillance on Sarah. So that brings us to her.
And we meet this Bram Stoker kid.
Yeah,
who's a teacher or
field.
teacher's assistant and has a list of kids of girls that he flirts with. So at first we think maybe Hasim
Is a stalker.
is a stalker, and this goes back to your point about let's take a moment and deal with Sarah. It turns out instead that he's been hired to protect her.
And what I found interesting was she refused to have a bodyguard. And so they hired him instead. But isn't that still a form of a bodyguard?
Well, she doesn't know he's following her. That's the thing.
Gotcha.
Sarah,
Is
so
it just the parents?
the father hired this man to basically keep tabs on her life and to protect her, and that's why he basically gave his life for her. That was his job. I know it's sad, but that was his job.
That makes sense, yeah.
And so the thing that's scary to me is if you are that father, and your daughter is most likely in danger because you have all of these powerful enemies from Egypt and probably some here in America, which we're learning exist. I would do something like change her name, do something, to just protect her more. I know he has his bodyguard on her, but if he's really that hated and that rich and that powerful, or was that powerful,
That would make sense to change the name, but I think their religion and their background, they're very prideful. So changing the name probably wouldn't be not something that he would think about, but it's something that he should think outside the box and do, because he was worth over $300 million.
Yeah, and if he knows he has these powerful enemies, you know, who are angry at him and angry at what he did or who he was associated with, I think you'd take a little more precaution when it came to your daughter, rather than just putting surveillance on her.
I wonder what they want, because if it's not money, you know.
It might not be money. It might be power. It might just be, you know, to control.
Revenge.
They said he was friends of the previous regime in Egypt.
Yeah.
So maybe these people want power. Maybe these people want him to come back to Egypt and reinstate that power. You know, you don't. I don't know.
No, and until, I mean, it's interesting that we just got through an entire first half. A whole episode,
and we know nothing.
And they have not asked anything of their ransom victims, you know?
I wish the not Castle, but like everybody at the precinct would be doing a little bit more digging into who
That's what I mean.
would be going after her or
Right.
him. You know, ask for a list of names. Ask for this top 10 people you think would want to harm you. Or work with you. I mean, I don't know.
Or even just do some Google research on like what his deal was back in Egypt.
yeah, and the people who were against it, or
how that regime got toppled. I mean, you know.
right now it's just been trying to find them, and I think it's silly because, you know, there's more power in knowledge, I personally think, and if they find more information, they have more access to this, and it kind of snowballed. So we find out who Sarah is. We find out that Alexis is friends with her, and Alexis...
And they both like global warming solutions.
Seminars.
Yes.
But I don't know. And then her YouTube video led the people to find Sarah, which goes back to putting out your information and whatnot. But in this world, honestly, if you go on YouTube, it's just everybody's on YouTube. You know, everybody's on video blogging and blogging. I mean, there's so much of every single one of us out there.
But it is true that it's a whole separate thing to be like, well, except for me saying that I'm going to be at AFTERBUZZ at 10 o'clock on a Monday night. I rarely say where I'm actually going to.
No, you would reference, you know, I'm going to go to the museum or I'm going to go to this, but you wouldn't say, or after the fact when you got home from the museum, I went to, I'm no longer there.
Right. This is why Foursquare creeps me out.
But then, you know, also the thing with teenagers and kids who are like 19, 20, 21, they don't think of the world as older adults do, or parents, as we see things where it could be harmful to you. They tweet, the Instagram, oh, we're here at the park, oh, we're here at the club, oh, you know, some of the things that they put out, the information that they put out there is just kind of what they do. And so in her mind, she doesn't think that is harmful. And so I don't know if that will.
And the reality is we find out that Alexis didn't know that her random friend Sarah has this crazy background and all this money and all these weird political connections until they're already kidnapped.
Yeah.
And outside of that, though, she, you know, Sarah was already being trailed. They knew who she was friends with. They knew she was friends with Alexis, so they followed Alexis's blog. You know, I think no matter what, they would have found out where she was going. They were obviously on to her, knew where she was.
Alexis just made it easier.
Alexis just gave them the go-ahead to say, this is where we'll be, make your plans for tonight, basically. But I can't say that I think her video blog's at fault. I think, obviously, like Beckett said, she's not at fault. Nobody's at fault here except for the people who abducted her. You know, they're in the wrong.
I don't know. Alexis is not at fault at all, but I do think that
Sarah,
there are precautions she could have taken. And didn't
but I, like I said, Alexis is not at fault for what she did, but this will teach her a lesson, because obviously she's gonna come out alive. She's, my prediction, but she will learn a lesson from this, and this will just make an easier bond between her and her dad, Castle. Like Castle had a problem with this, and she was like, "Oh, Dad, relax." She's gonna see firsthand now. I'll be a little more cautious, and so.
But don't you also think maybe, just maybe, Sarah should have clued? Her in, you know, not to.
But also, how do you tell a new friend?
I know.
By the way, I come from lots of money.
And it's not even that she comes from. It's not even the money. it's just the fact that there's enemies or people that her dad wants her to have a bodyguard. I mean, those are things, I don't know.
No, I disagree.
They seem to not be that close of friends, though, also.
I disagree.
They're
like the crying, I'm sorry, crying, I'm going to cry secretly in the bathroom.
Yeah, right. I would cry right out in the open.
I mean,
bawl my
who are
eyes
they
out.
hiding from? Yeah.
I disagree with you, Paige, because rich people, especially when you have so much to invest, they don't ever give that information away because you never know who wants to be their friend for who they are. So I
Right.
can totally see why she would keep that a secret, because most rich people who are not like kind of out there, like, hey, you know,
Not
they
like Beverly Hills Housewives?
Yeah, like
Or
Beverly
like
Hills.
Castle?
They don't want that information to be out there because they want people to know them for who they are. But Samara, I also think, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No.
Samara, I do think that they're not really good friends, because when they were having conversation, there was really no chemistry. And I mean, we've all been to college. You have that one person in class that you kind of talk to a little bit. Oh, hey, we're in this class, you know, Professor so-and-so's having extra credit. You know what? Why don't we go? But doesn't necessarily mean that they're friends or that they hang out. They just so happen to have a class together. So I think there's a difference with that.
Here's my thing. Maybe not say the money thing, you know, but maybe imply that who her father is, like in terms of enemies, I mean, or, oh, you know, you complain to your mom, oh, my mom wants to like track my cell phone or whatever. You complain to your friend. It's just, my dad wants me to have a bodyguard, you know, just something.
The other
like,
thing, though, to Alexis's credit, she doesn't say my friend Sarah el-Masri and I. She just says
Sarah.
my friend Sarah. So really, they had to have known already. They were on to them both.
Yeah.
I think we're.
And she really, I mean, unless we find out new stuff next week, as I said before, is sort of a pawn.
I think she is a pawn. I mean, no matter what happens next week.
Well, let's get into the actual abduction.
Well, so they're scooped up outside of this science convention, seminar, whatnot, which they were brought to. We find out the abductors are brought to through her YouTube or vlog or whatever it is. And so they're abducted. And at first we don't know Alexis is there. Then, you know, we find out she's there by her video
Castle
blog and her phone.
And her phone is in the lost and found at the convention.
Yeah, and so it just, from there, it's kind of not uneventful, but I mean, we go from, oh, who were they with? And they were with the guy who was driving. What was his name?
Roger
Henson. No, he wasn't driving. He was the one who abducted them.
But what I thought was interesting is when the investigation, the abduction started to unravel before it was revealed that Alexis was found, Castle started just having those moments as a parent, you know, like, gosh, wow, I can only imagine what those parents are going through.
I think he even said, I'm so glad this isn't me, or something like
He
that.
said something
Another one of those, like...
He said, I can't imagine what they're feeling, or something like that.
Oy.
Yeah.
You're like...
A lot of foreshadowing going on in this episode.
Possibly too much.
A little bit too much. It was, well, because we saw the previews last week, this was my thing. We saw the previews, we know Alexis is abducted. The whole first 20 minutes was kind of just like, so when does she get abducted?
Right.
When do we find out she's missing?
Yeah.
This is the problem with teasers.
Yeah, it was just almost like I didn't even care about what was happening because I knew it would all just lead back to Alexis being there. I don't even care about, I don't care about Sarah. I hope she gets home safely to her family. But we feel more emotionally attached to Alexis. Yeah. And so the whole beginning, it was just kind of like, okay, where does this tie together? How do we? Yeah,
we kept wondering, okay, wait, up, yeah.
Yeah, and it was kind of frustrating. This episode, the beginning was a little frustrating, and the end was kind of just, you know, it was like a normal case, but I wanted it to be more. I didn't want it to be so, like, it was just so, like, following the cookie crumbs.
Right, instead of it getting also deeper, it was just moving forward.
Yeah, and it was moving forward to nothing, basically. But I wanted, like I said, for them to, like, delve deeper into who, you know, in Egypt might want these girls, why, if they're not asking for a ransom. Like, that would have been so much more interesting to me than to be going to a farmhouse that's empty. Oh, no, they know what they're doing. Okay, obviously they know what they're doing.
That would have been fine, but then it needed to be the payoff of something that we've just been learning more about. Yeah. Okay, so there were a few highlights, though, of interesting scenes where Castle's alone with the guy who got shot.
Oh yeah. What do you think he did? Like poke his
Yeah,
bullet hole?
I think that's what we're supposed to believe.
His name-
Tortured him on some level.
Yeah, because you heard him. Douglas Stevens.
Yeah, Douglas Stevens.
Yeah. And his sister was a nurse, so he was over at the house, and they found him in a room. They arrested him. And so Castle said when Beckett asked, what happened to you and Douglas Stevens, he said that he appealed to
His humanity.
his humanity.
Which was clearly code for
I hurt him. Which is so not Castle-like, and I thought he was but you could see that. Look, I have to say, Nathan Fillion in this episode, the emotion in his face, I mean, the acting that he did really convinced, I was convinced of his pain that he was feeling in this episode. And you saw in his eyes that if I were that guy, I would have been like, okay, here's all the information
I thought that was really
know.
well directed, where we just see the look in his eye, and then we cut to what Beckett experienced.
And he closed his eyes for a second.
Yeah,
He's
and he reopens it, and it's like he's back to being the.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it was intense.
But any parent would do that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, also listen, it worked.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the scary part about
the face didn't work. The poking, the bullet
Yeah, that's
hole.
what I mean.
The poking.
That's what I mean.
I thought another great scene is when when Beckett sent Castle home to just relax. And so when he came down to when he came down to the scene where they were looking for when they went to identify the blood,
Yeah.
That was a great scene for Nathan as well. And then you just saw him just like tearing up.
It was so sad.
Yeah.
And you could see his heart breaking, seeing that blood. Luckily, I mean, obviously it wasn't Alexis's.
Nor was it Sarah's.
Nor was it Sarah's. It was the driver's, Douglas's. But I really liked a little bit to see Alexis and Sarah kind of talking it out, like pooling together their resources and what they know and trying to figure out their way out of there. And Sarah's just like this weak little flower who's like, I don't know what to do. I'm going to cry. And she's the one who went to this. She's the one who should be prepared for this, because she is the one who went to training classes for this and was supposed to have a bodyguard.
But it makes sense considering what her dad said about her not wanting a bodyguard, that she's sort of a little bit like Alexis in terms of like, Dad, back off. You're making too big a deal. This isn't going to ever happen to me.
He said she was too American, or
Right.
he was like still like
that she forgot that there's like a world of enemies.
Yeah, I think everybody forgets in their day-to-day, but I don't
You
know.
almost have to live that way
Because
if
that's
you want to have a real life.
Yeah.
I was also glad when Alexis and Sarah were having their moments when they were trying to figure things out. Like Sarah just was like, just the way that she was answering questions as if she, like, in some ways she seemed like she would expect this because her dad is rich. But then when when Alexis was trying to get information, okay, let's try and figure this out, she wasn't so willingly in the beginning. And I didn't understand why.
I think in the beginning she thought that it would have been over sooner. I think she thought ransom, get him the money, we'll be out of here.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
I think, because she even said it. She goes, my dad's got a lot of money. They want a ransom. He'll give them the money. We'll get out of here. I think
Little
she
does
thought
she know that she's in
France. I don't know. I liked watching the girls collaborate. I think, again, cheese factor. When the grandmother was kind of saying, oh, she's a smart girl. She'll get out of this. I feel it in my heart. She's really smart. She's strong. She's just like her dad. Okay, yeah, but like I could have done without that, and just to see her acting that way, and to see her really thinking it through, and I would have liked to be able to connect it myself as a viewer, to be like, oh, she's a lot like Castle. She's very creative. She's very.
It's like there's that rule of
resourceful.
show, don't tell, and I feel like in this
Yes.
episode they did both.
Yeah, they did a little too
repeatedly.
much telling.
So we get the telling and then we see the showing. And
Yeah, it was
I got
almost
it.
you expected to see these things happen. You expected to Alexis to go missing. You expected her to be smart and to do something to get out of there. I mean, I liked the Skype thing. I liked that they tracked her.
Smart.
Then again, it caught me off guard at the end. I don't know about you guys, but
It did. It caught me off guard, and it's so funny. We'll talk about the predictions in a couple minutes, but when I saw the whole Skype thing, it really did remind me of Taken with Liam Neeson.
Oh,
So
yeah, I hadn't seen it.
okay. Well, it totally reminded me of that, and I was hoping that Alexis was going to do something, move around visibly so that he can try and figure things out. But she didn't do that. And what happened was she hears someone coming. And the phone was almost going dead. So she drops the phone. She runs out, and she's at the very top of this building. And she looks, and what the hell? She is in France.
She sees the Eiffel Tower.
yeah. And right as she sees that, they kind of like cut to Castle, and they're like, "It's tracing to a cell tower in France." Oh.
That's so
No wonder.
crazy.
Oh, that's why 911 didn't work.
Yeah,
Because they were in France.
Oh,
what do
good-
they use?
Good job.
that's a good question. I don't know.
I didn't know if they like disabled the phone. I didn't know if they disabled the 911. That's what I was thinking. But now it's kind of making sense. I was blown away. I didn't think they'd be in France.
No.
I thought maybe across the country
because
or.
they skipped that there was it was not clear to me that that kind of amount of time would have
Had passed.
Passed.
But it's true that she said that they were drugged. So
And not only that, but when you, it's one thing for go to New York, to Miami, to even Mexico, but to get to France, you have to be on a plane.
Well, you
only 6
have to
hours.
assume that there are very rich, wealthy, powerful people who are doing this.
Yeah.
Because those are the only type of people I think would be going after Sarah and her family. Therefore, I'm sure they have their own private jet that they could have just thrown the girls onto
Yeah.
and flown to France.
yeah, they couldn't have not.
I mean,
They couldn't have not.
Yeah, I mean,
they couldn't
that's,
have used a commercial.
this had to be
airline.
like specifically planned out.
Gosh, they were drugged a long ass time.
Well, I'm sure they were drugged and then
Redrugged,
redrugged.
and yeah.
Because
And
when they
you're
woke
right.
up, they didn't really remember much.
It was
Yeah.
for sure in a private jet. So yeah, these are. We'll see who these people are. All we know is that they speak Arabic.
And they're not good people because even the person that they hired, Roger Henson, they killed him and tortured him, which was
Yeah.
so gross to see.
And removed his fingernails.
And that
was
can't have been
gross.
good for Castle to see what they're capable of.
No, but the thing is, they're keeping the girls alive, and that's, I don't know, it's weird because they've been unharmed, they're being fed, they have clothes, they have
Obviously,
water
yeah,
and bathroom.
we'll just find out in the next episode why.
They didn't leave us
what
much
they
to go
need.
on, other than that they are in France.
Well, do you guys have news and gossip, or if not, we just going
Well, a
to
little bit, which is that
Yes.
AfterBuzz TV News.
Sorry about that. Yes, is that Karen David, who guest starred as Sarah in this episode, is the girl who got injured on set a few weeks ago. Months ago.
So we're kind of thinking, I mean, we don't know the details, obviously. There was the van.
Yeah.
She fell off a van and hurt her head. I'm assuming this was what happened.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they must have either shot it out of sequence or she recovered
she was
in time because the van is very early on.
Well, I remember hearing that she left the same day, I think, the hospital and had like a neck brace and like something like that. So I think she was okay. So I don't know if she returned or whatnot, but it's good to, I'm assuming since we saw this episode that she's okay.
Yeah,
I'm hoping
right.
she's okay.
Right. There also may be, this is a lame-ish prediction, but it may be that there's a future van as well because
There may be.
I don't know if there was also a stuntman that was injured or more badly injured than
But it might have been when she
what
jumped
kind
out of that
stunt?
car. I don't know.
That wasn't really a stunt.
Who knows? I don't know. But that was our little.
Okay, well,
Thing.
let's get into predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV.
Predictions.
Oh my God. Lordy, lordy. Well.
I mean,
Okay, obviously Alexis is going to be saved.
I predict that as well.
Prediction number 1. Prediction number 2, I think it's going to have to do with obviously Sarah's background. But I think it's going to be a combination of Castle doing his, because they showed him on his own, and what is he, Liam Neeson, you know? And every movie Liam Neeson is in, he's saving somebody across the world, like jumping over cars and whatever. And I don't think Castle will be doing that, but I think Castle will be doing digging and searching, and because he's the creative brain. But I think back home, if that's where Beckett stays, she is going to play a key role in this. I think she's always
We
been.
need her too. I
Yes.
think you're right because this episode.
She's very strategic and she sticks to the facts.
Yep.
And I think whereas Castle's emotions are running high, I think he's going to lean on her. He's going to need her. I think he's going to try and
I
go
think
off
he's
the
going
map.
to get a little crazier before he gets a little saner.
I think he's going to go off the map a bit, yeah. But I think he's going to
Go rogue. He's going to
Yeah.
go rogue.
Yeah.
go Liam Neeson on us. But I think he's going to return to home base and be with Beckett and let her help him through it. I don't know.
I don't really have anything to add. I'm curious. I mean, I feel like in the first chunk, I hope in the first chunk of the next episode next week, we'll get a little sense of what the bad guys want. Because until then, I mean, if it's not money, meh.
Well, I'm just going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say that Alexis will be involved somehow. I think it will maybe involve the two of them.
I think that would be more interesting.
That would be more
I'm
interesting.
gunning for that, yeah.
And then also, I'm going to also just go on the other side. I'm going to say that Gates is gonna figure out that Castle and Beckett are together just based off the things that based off the things that she saw in the hand holding. I think she's gonna figure it out in later episodes once she sees the interaction with them, once this whole abduction is clear.
Do you think she'll be sympathetic to them?
Yes.
Because
no,
I felt like after this episode, she kind of loved.
After this, she will be, but you know, she'll go back to her normal mean self. You know, a couple months, maybe sweeps week.
Yeah, I think she'll I think she's going to try and purposely not acknowledge it for a little bit, unless it becomes an issue. I think she's gonna. I think she knows and she sees it, and she knows in her heart what's going on. But as long as it's one of those things, you know, if they don't say it, I'm not gonna acknowledge it. I think it'll stay on the DL for a while. I think the problem may arise if they do something that, you know, bugs her or, you know, pisses her off. I don't know.
Well, we definitely aren't going to keep AfterBuzz on the DL. We're going to tell everyone about it because it's something that you guys all need to do. So we want to thank you for watching another great AfterBuzz recap of Castle Season 5, Episode 15, titled Target. I am Bamm Ericsen. Target. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Bamm Ericsen.
I'm Samara Bay. You can find me at Samara Bay or thesmartyattheparty.com.
And I am Paige Sullivan. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Paige Sull and at perfectpaige.com.
Thank you guys for watching, and see you next week for part 2.
Bye.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.